We are all familiar with the ancient command to love your enemies. It sets an impossibly high standard. It requires us to desire the actual well-being of those who oppose us. Look at how nations actually operate. Modern foreign policy relies entirely on hatred. Governments consolidate power by demonizing adversaries and demanding absolute allegiance against a perceived evil. In his book, Confessions, theologian John B. Cobb Jr. strips away polite religious discourse to expose this hypocrisy. He delivers a blunt warning about where this total abandonment of our highest ideals is taking us. Cobb asks us to apply this command to our modern geopolitical rivals. To love an enemy means seeking to understand their historical context and grievances, instead of blindly swallowing the latest war propaganda. History reveals the brutal cost of getting this wrong. In World War II, the U.S. dehumanized the Japanese and demanded unconditional surrender, refusing to accommodate a minor condition regarding their emperor. The consequence was mass, indiscriminate devastation. Failing to seek understanding with our adversaries is a fatal flaw. It is the exact blind spot driving our entire civilization toward collapse. Cobb traces how human devotion has mutated over time. Societies moved from worshiping the church during the era of Christianism to worshiping the state in the age of nationalism. Today, we live under economism. Money is the ultimate object of worship. A rigid, top-down economy dictates all human value, with wealth flowing relentlessly upward. A system dedicated entirely to extorting its base inevitably destroys its own foundation. This endless demand for extraction is accelerating us toward nuclear conflict and the sixth mass extinction of the biosphere. The sheer scale of this threat overwhelms the human mind. The terror forces the public into a mass psychological shutdown and absolute denial. We are addicted to a structure that demands its own destruction. Minor political reforms cannot cure a society wired for suicide. We require a total overhaul of our values. Cobb prescribes a specific cure, shifting human allegiance away from economism and toward earthism. Earthism requires building an ecological civilization. The economy must be forced to serve the natural world and human life, rather than forcing life to serve the economy. To do this, we have to invert the structure. We must abandon the centralized corporate empire and rebuild society completely from the bottom up. This transition is blocked by the logic of dominance. Our current patriarchal structures are designed for top-down control, which is the direct opposite of a system based on community-wide cooperation. We cannot fix the environment while maintaining the hierarchy that broke it. If the underlying blueprint remains one of command and extraction, any new civilization will eventually repeat the same path to collapse. Cobb makes a profound confession here. He admits that traditional male-dominated institutions lack the capacity to lead this spiritual revolution alone. He points to his co-author, Reverend Bonnie Tarwater, who argues that women must take the lead to rescue these faith traditions and human society itself. The goal is to replace the destructive model of power over with a model of true partnership. We can find historical anchors for this shift. By reimagining figures like Jesus and Mary Magdalene as equal partners rather than a rigid hierarchy, we uncover a template for cooperation. This era requires raw, uncompromising energy. Think of the fierce, instinctual drive a mother bear uses to shield her cubs from predators. We need that exact protective ferocity for Mother Earth. We have proof that this approach works. Nobel laureate Lamak Bowie led a nonviolent, women-driven partnership movement that successfully overthrew a genocidal dictatorship in Liberia. Elevating women's leadership provides the specific evolutionary mechanism required to cure our civilization's death wish. How does one isolated, anxious person actually participate in a global spiritual revolution? Cobb and Tarwater propose an immediate practical treatment plan, Earthist Solution Circles. These small gatherings serve a radical function. They are safe spaces designed specifically to tell the unvarnished truth about planetary grief and to shatter individual denial. Sharing that terror and grief in an intimate circle transforms paralyzing anxiety into deep connection and creative action. You cannot cure the world's collective denial without first curing individual isolation. These microcircles are the literal architectural building blocks of Cobb's macro ecological civilization. A single circle of truth-telling naturally evolves into a local network of survival and self-sufficiency, linking up with other communities to form a resilient web. This revolution will never be legislated from the top down by billionaires or politicians. This is the living organism we are fighting to protect, a fragile, isolated home suspended in a dark void. Human survival doesn't require waiting for a savior. It starts simply by sitting in a circle, facing the truth, and choosing to build a partnership with life itself.